Hey, so I have a surprise. It's always an exciting thing when I have guests in the studio, and tonight I want to present Moya. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Here's my first question. Moya, is it Japanese for a puff of smoke, or is it the brain ailment?
I feel like the music relates more to the terrible ailment that it is.
Okay, so cliche band question number one. How did Moya get started?
So I'm Ryan, I'm the vocalist, and I really just wanted to create a project that was sort of something that I've been thinking about for a significant amount of time, something that was a bit louder, something that was had a bit more edge to it. I previously had a new wave band, and I was lucky enough to just have some very, very good musicians come into contact with some very good musicians. And the former drummer helped me get Reed, who is the guitarist right beside me here, and then Reed helped me find George, who is our bassist, who is unfortunately not in the studio with us, and then my friend Jeremy, who is also known as Jay Wood, recommended the drummer Mac for us as well. So that makes up the four of us right now. It's Ryan, Reed, Mac, and George.
Ryan, Reed, Mac, welcome. And George, hello at home. Is George listening? Is George next to his radio?
Yeah, I think he is.
Do you have a message for George at this time?
George, wish you were here. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. So, tonight, I mean, it's been available on Spotify as of midnight, right? Tonight we're going to debut on the radio, at least I assume this is the radio debut, of the new single. Tell me about this single. Where was it recorded? How was it recorded? What's the song all about?
Well, I think I'll just start by talking a bit about how it all started. And so, like Ryan talked about, we had some turnover with our members. Ryan and the former drummer Adam started the group, and I think they were cycling through a few people trying to get things going. And then Adam Collier, a good friend of mine, asked me to join, so I did. And basically we were jamming in a space on Portage, quite close to here, and we only met a couple times. I think it was like the second time we had four of us together, and we just put White Noise together. It came together really quickly. It was like lightning in a bottle. And then COVID happened after 2 weeks, right? So basically after that, like, we lost our rhythm section. Adam and the prior bassist Andrew both decided to pursue other projects, and so then we eventually found George and Mac, but we decided to keep the song almost exactly the same as we'd had it on just a low quality cell phone recording that Ryan had taken. So it's almost exactly as it was 3 years ago, almost to the day that we did that.
Just at a higher fidelity.
It's a somewhat higher fidelity, I will say. And so, we wanted to play around a bit and try to sound the way we want to sound. So we decided to, take a crack at it and record it ourselves. So we recorded all of it, most of it anyway, in Mac's basement where we rehearse. And George and I just did a lot of the sound engineering and then the mixing and mastering. So it was a learning experience for all of us.
Let's back up with that before I play the song here. You made it sound the way you wanted it to sound. Is there a philosophy? Is there a raison d'etre? Is there an idea about what you're going for?
Yeah, the philosophy is tech punk.
I saw that. What does that even mean? I don't even know.
Where that comes from, basically, we're just making it up as we go. We're just having fun. But basically, George and I, we're big into very technical music. We love technical death metal. We love that sound, the high precision. But, of course, we're not quite there. We're not that. We're not a metal band, per se. But we want to incorporate, some of those styles of playing, especially in the guitar, into what we're doing as a group. But then fundamentally, I think we're still, we're a punk band. the themes that Ryan likes to write about, and of course just rhythmically the way the music moves. I think is fundamentally punk, but we just want to have a bit of that technical edge to it, so it's tech punk.
Ryan, what do you like to write about?
I would say it's a lot of like various things. White Noise itself is a lot about my dissatisfaction with the way that houseless people are treated, especially in Winnipeg. I got the idea basically driving down Main Street, and there was right past Higgins, there's a large houseless population that tends to be around there. And there was right around this area that I saw banners protruding off of a building that almost seemed like comically positive and comically like, oh, like we're here to help you. It seemed like almost a feigned access to resources because from my understanding of just the way things are, resources for people who are houseless are really not good within Winnipeg and within Canada as a whole. And I wanted to write a song that sort of amplified that in, like there's lines where I speak about talking about how they'll help, and it's just sort of just talk. It's nothing more than noise. You know, it's just all white noise. You know, people will say that they're going to help you, that they're going to do something, and then consistently throughout the decades, nothing has happened, nothing has changed. It's all just talk and talk, white noise.
Okay. Before I get to the track, for the listeners who have tuned in when bands have been on before, you'll know that I like to, in addition to playing the band's new releases, I also like to spend some time listening to some of the music that, quote unquote, changed the way that you think about music. And so that's the homework that I give to all the bands coming in. So we're going to play White Noise, and I started out with Ryan's picks, and we're going to hear some of the others as we progress through the show. So Ryan, in this next set, after we hear Moya Moya, we're also going to hear some This Heat, and we're also going to listen to some Death Grips. So answering the questions, how did these two tracks change the way that you think about music?
So as for This Heat, the track that I chose was called Makeshift Swahili. I think it's a really, really interesting track that sort of talks about language and colonialism, and as well just the way that the vocalist uses his voice is just very unconventional, I would say. It's a lot of very strained and like almost painful sounding vocals, and it's very powerful and aggressive, and that's something that I tend to like a lot in music. And it really
So you modeled your vocal stylings off of This Heat a little.
I would say that, as well as the pop group. That's a big influence on me as well.
Nice.
My vocal style, just the sort of like raw aggression that is within it. And as for Death Grips, Death Grips has just been with me for like many, many years now. I've seen them live. They're just an ungodly force of just pure energy. And I really love the experimentation on the powers that be. And the track Billy Not Really was the track that I chose, and it's one of the first Death Grip songs where I really got to, it was very easy to listen to the lyrics and kind of like, memorize it, and I found myself even just singing along to it very often, and despite the eclectic and strange nature of it, it just clicked for me and for some reason.
Okay, let's give all of these a listen. Okay, starting with Moya Moya on CKUW 95.9 FM, Adult Kindergarten. Yeah, so Death Grips was a pick coming from Ryan. Ryan giving his love for Death Grips and This Heat. And now we have some more picks coming up, but we're going to start with Ryan's former band, the People's Republic of Amsterdam. So please give us like a little primer on the history, Ryan, of the People's Republic of Amsterdam.
Oh, this is a fun story.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
So in my teenage years, I used to enjoy playing Super Smash Brothers Melee competitively. Competitively, yeah. So they have tournaments for Super Smash Brothers Melee, and it's actually one of the more technical and difficult fighting games out there, surprisingly. So these guys that I had played in tournaments with, one of them hit me up, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to be part of this new wave band that we're starting up?" And I was immediately like, "Yes, I've been wanting to find a band in this city for forever because I grew up in Dauphin, and moved here when I was 18. So I got the chance to be in a band when I was 19, which is something that I had really wanted ever since I moved to Winnipeg. So the bassist picked up bass for the band. Our guitarist re-picked up guitar to play with us, and then Andrew, who was basically the brains behind the operation, who I initially had as the first bassist for Moya as well. He basically just programmed all the drum machines, all the synths, wrote all the music, with the exception of my lyrics, and was just like a driving force for this project. And I love him to death for it. Like, he did such an amazing job. And I joined up with them, and we practiced for probably about 2-3 years, and played a few shows, and recorded in my friend's basement, and voila, we have People's Republic of Amsterdam.
Yeah, and you know, I actually had the opportunity to hear you once, and that was when, like, one afternoon in the middle of lockdown, I was on my phone, and I noticed that the People's Republic of Amsterdam were doing a live backyard concert that day.
Yeah, so I had Andrew come out to Dauphin and visit me because it was I moved back because of the pandemic, and we had just released the EP that we had made for People's Republic, and we had a fun little live set in the backyard of my parents' house, just sitting in my mom's garden, and that was a fun little time. So very different because it was an acoustic set, and a lot of the music is very electronic.
Right.
But I feel like we translated it pretty well, and it worked out pretty great.
Yeah, like for me, I hadn't heard you otherwise, so for me it sounded like it was probably supposed to sound, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's listen to your previous band, and we'll hear, and following that, we're going to hear some other things. So run down what you selected.
All right, I'm Mac. I'm the drummer. I picked, as one of my inspirations, I guess, a local band, Vampires. When I first started playing music in the city, I went to see them, and they really inspired me because it was just two people making a lot of noise, and I thought, that's really cool, and I want to do the same thing. And they soon became friends, and then full circle, 3 years later, my first band, Mars, was putting out our debut album, and Vampires got to open for us. So
Mac, you were in Mars?
that was me.
Oh my gosh, I've played with you before.
Really?
Yeah, with my band, the Inflatable Band.
Oh, hey.
Mars were great, very Stooges-esque, I
Yeah.
felt. Yeah.
That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Okay. Yeah, so the Vampires, like for me, they also have I have a real soft spot for them because, okay, my story is I moved to Winnipeg in 2010 to take a teaching job, and I didn't know anyone in the city, right? So I'm like, how am I going to meet people? I guess I'll go to a live show. So I just went to a random live show, and it was at the Low Pub with Vampires and Softcore. Do you remember Softcore? Yeah, and that was, so they were like the first bands I'd ever seen in the city. Yeah, great. Vampires are awesome. Okay, so People's Republic of Amsterdam, into Vampires, into, what's the third? Have we selected that yet?
I don't think we've selected a thing
Okay.
yet. We could do, we could do Cancer Bats.
Okay.
We'll do Year of the Snake.
Tell me about the Cancer Bats. How did the Cancer Bats change the way that you think about music?
Another kind of full circle thing with at least my history of playing in music. Cancer Bats were one of the first bands that got me into heavier styles of music. Started going to their shows, realized that the members are very active in the Canadian music scene and community, and they have Liam, the singer, has a clothing brand. So I'm like, I want to meet them. So I went to one of Liam's clothing pop-ups and I talked to him for 2 hours. Then as things go, you keep running into people. The drummer Mike lives in Winnipeg. Fast forward a few months, Mars got to open for them at a show, and that was really cool. And then fast forward years later, I was doing drum teching at a show, and I ran into them again, and they were in town recording The Spark That Moves, and they needed gang vocals. So I got to do gang vocals on that one too.
So it sounds to me from what you're saying that just the real DIY ethos of this band is something that really moved you in a big way.
Yeah, and I don't know, it kind of opened me up to heavy music and playing loud and having fun doing that. So I thought that was a good pick for my selections.
Well, right on. Okay, well let's get into all of this, starting with the People's Republic of Amsterdam with No More Peace. Is it likely that in the future Moya Moya might go in an electronic direction, or is that a no-no?
No.
Sounds very, very, very sure of yourself there, just for the sake of variety, like one EP where it's it's our dance EP or whatever. No.
No, I don't think that's
I don't
in the cards for Moya Moya. I think it's just a very different feel and sound and philosophy behind it that I don't think it would mesh well with, especially our current repertoire of things. I don't think that's going to really happen, especially with the evolution of how things have been going.
Yeah, it doesn't really suit our direction right now, I'd say. And Ryan actually can really tickle the ivories, but so we're always talking about bringing in some keyboards and stuff, and it just keeps not happening. It just does not happen. So I think we have some kind of inhibition regarding that on some level. So I would say it's just naturally not gone that direction.
It's just really hard to play piano and sing at the same time. It's really hard.
It's like chewing and riding a bike, chewing gum, riding a bike. Hey, so on the topic of the future, what is the future of Moya Moya? What are plans? What are the plans?
I'd say as it currently stands, we want to record a full album. At least that's what it feels like we've discussed. We're trying to keep the shows to a minimum so that we can focus on making some more music, recording some more music. But still occasionally having a show here and there to, because it's fun, and also it gives us a little bit of money to go to the band fund.
Oh my gosh, someone's phoning us. Hey, person who's phoning, can you wait until we're playing some songs and then we'll talk to you? Hold off on that. Hey, so now I'm going to ask you a big band art form question, because you're planning on recording some more. So, and I think the question that plagues every band is, do you want to do it all DIY? Do you want to rent some recording equipment and set up in your basement, or would you want to do it all big studio, go to No Fun or something like that?
For now, we're pretty committed to doing it ourselves. I think George and I, we like to figure things out on our own. We're pretty good at that, and so White Noise was our first kick the can. It's not perfect, but we learned a lot. So we're just going to keep trying to improve on that. Maybe we'll acquire some more gear try to sound a little more professional if we can, but yeah, I think we like to do things.
So you want to sound professional. What does that mean for a noise rock band to be
I don't know,
professional, right?
That's a great question. Just, like I said, I mean, going back to the whole tech punk thing, it's got to be pretty slick, right? Like not too live sounding, a little bit produced sounding. So
Okay, I see. So if you were listening before our last song break, I just had a revelation with Mac here that we once shared a stage with my band and with your previous band, Mars. Tell me about Mars and tell me a brief history of Mars.
Okay. I started the band when I was 19.
Beautiful.
It was only together for about 3 years. We played a lot of shows, had a lot of fun, and put out one record, and then it kind of disbanded shortly after we put that record out. But that's okay.
Isn't the way with so many bands, like the album comes out and then you're like, oh, we did our thing, break up?
Yeah, like if I can put out music with a group, that's means a lot to me, and I can kind of have something to like look back on, and something tangible. I can like hold my hand, like I accomplished something here.
Exactly.
Even if it doesn't build and continue, and life happens, things happen.
Yeah,
That's okay.
something to play for your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll probably be in a totally different headspace, and they'll be listening to whatever, but and think it's lame, but it's here, right? It's cool, and we're gonna hear "Cool" from Mars right now. Piron. Am I pronouncing it right? Piron.
I think so.
Okay, yeah, it's hard to know, right?
Some people say Pyron, some say Piron.
I can see that, like a pylon, right? Or it's a Piron. Yeah, it's Pyrrhon with white flag from the Mother Virtues, and before that, Gorguts with, excuse my French pronunciation, Le Toit du Monde from Colored Sands, and start things off with Mars and Cool. So tell me about, like what you were telling me off air about your vision for Moya, who's with me in the studio, and the sound of Piron and Gorguts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, certainly two important ones for me, but what it really boils down to is I think tonally, these bands represent a lot of what I've come to enjoy and what I kind of see us doing. Of course, as I've said, we're not really a metal band, but I'd like to incorporate those kind of styles as much as I can in my playing, and then in our compositions generally. And there's so much I could say about both those bands, but Gorguts especially. That's a bit of a co-pick between myself and George, who couldn't be with us because the story there is George and I met in university about 6 or 7 years ago, and one of the first things he said to me, we were talking about music, and he just said, check out Gorguts' Colored Sands. So I did.
Here's a hypothetical for you. If George were here, hey George, because I assume George is listening, what other things would George say about Moya? What is George likely to say?
Oh, I don't know. Well,
George is probably screaming at the radio right now. I would say.
That's a great question. I mean, the thing about George is a very, very good guitar player, but when we were looking for a bassist, I mentioned it, and he just said, "I'll take up bass so I can play in the band." So he took up a new instrument. So I think probably what he'd talk about a lot is, in the past year or so, year plus that we've been the four of us. He talked about how he's getting acclimated and just learning a new instrument. But and hopefully he'd say it's been fulfilling and fun, as I think all of us have found. But sorry, George, I don't know what else you'd say, but I think it would be something along those lines.
We've been in the studio tonight on Adult Kindergarten with Moya. Thanks for coming in, guys, and sharing your story with us and debuting your debut single. When's the next show?
We're in some talks, but nothing is announced and set in stone yet. So I don't think it's best to just say a date, just in case something gets moved.
Just keep an eye on our Instagram, Moya Winnipeg, and when we have something coming up, we'll be sure to post it there.
Awesome. Taking us out, here's Drive Like Jehu with Here Come the Rome Plows.